What a way to end this show's legendary run. When it first dropped on YouTube Red in 2018, it surprised everyone by being far more than just another cash grab reboot of a popular 80s movie. It was smart, funny, explored new ideas about the Karate Kid universe while adding interesting context to the original three films. It brought back actors and characters in a way I never even thought was possible. And 7 years later, it ties the story and these characters together nicely. While season 6 started rough, it ended beautifully. I am going to be talking about heavy spoilers for season 6, part 3 of Cobra Kai, so if you have not seen the full show yet, this is your warning. Over the course of this show's 6 season run, it introduced so many new characters and plot developments, and featured a number of twists and betrayals. But what I like about these final 5 episodes is that it takes everything back to the basics. The main focus is on Johnny Lawrence and how much he's grown as a person. Starting off the final episode with a 2017 flashback was perfect, and it gives us a nice contrast to where he is by the end of the series. He's moved on from the 1980s, became a mentor, a husband, and a father, all while making amends with his estranged son and his high school rival. Having Johnny win the Sekai Taikai by beating Sensei Wolf was cheesy, predictable, but also really satisfying. All he was ever known for since 1984 was stepping forward into Daniel's crane kick, but this time he steps back and lets Wolf come to him, countering the Shaolin sunset by sweeping the leg just like Kreese taught him. Speaking of Kreese, I think the scene where he reconciles with Johnny might be the best emotional moment in the entire show. Kreese was the closest thing Johnny ever had to a real male role model growing up, and Billy Zabka's acting is top notch here. It's like he's a 17-year-old kid again, and we really hear the hurt in his voice. We truly understand just how much Kreese strangling him hurt him, not just physically, but emotionally. Kreese's redemption is something we saw coming a mile away, but I really like how they pulled it off in these final episodes. He has really nice and meaningful goodbye scenes with Kim Dae-yoon, Tori, and Johnny, the three most important people in his life. Tori seemed to be his second chance as a sensei. While he screwed up with Johnny, he did a better job at being a good sensei to Tori. Far from perfect, of course, but much improved by his standards. Kreese's growth was a nice contrast to Terry Silver, who went in the opposite direction. Silver's desperation at leaving a legacy behind while dying of cancer drove him mad, to the point where he resorted to threatening Johnny's family. I think they did a better job at making Silver sympathetic back in season 4, where we saw just how much he was affected by Vietnam. Rather than choosing redemption, he slips further and further into darkness. Unlike Kreese, who actually had people throughout his life that he loved and cared about, Silver seemed to have no one. No wife, no kids, no students, and no real friends after betraying Kreese. The closest he came to being a good sensei was when he taught Kenny how to be confident in season 5, but in season 6, ended up seeing him as nothing more than a pawn. Admittedly, I do think the way Kreese and Silver died was way too goofy and over the top, even by the standards of this show. Having a yacht explode feels like something that should be in a Lethal Weapon movie, not the Karate Kid universe. I also don't like how nobody seems to notice or care that they're gone in the final episode. Wolf has one line where he asks about Silver, but that's it. After such an emotional reconciliation with Johnny, I wish we could have had some kind of reaction to Kreese's death. That being said, I do like the idea that Kreese and Silver went from friends to enemies, while Johnny and Daniel went from enemies to friends. And yeah, let's talk about Daniel LaRusso. This is him at his absolute best. His growth from episode 1, season 1 is nearly as great as Johnny's. He held a lifelong grudge against Cobra Kai and rejected any way of thinking that didn't follow his own. In these 5 episodes, he fully embraces Johnny's version of Cobra Kai, supporting him to the very end in his final fight. The fact that he uses Silver's own Cobra Kai motto against him would have been unthinkable even just a season ago, but the way it's used here is amazing. I also love Daniel's closure with Miyagi, where he realizes that the best way to honor his sensei wasn't by trying to win the tournament, but by knowing when it's best not to fight. Miyagi accidentally killing his opponent in the Sekai Taikai definitely seemed to mold his philosophy on avoiding fights when possible, and doing karate not to fight, but so you don't have to fight. And that's also what was so great about Samantha's arc in these 5 episodes. We also get her at her very best. She gives love and support to someone who tried to kill her, has the maturity to step aside when there's no reason for her to fight in the tournament, and shows bravery by stepping out of her bubble and going to Okinawa. The support that all of the LaRussos show for Tori in that last episode was beautiful. I love where Tori's character ended up, and watching her knock Zara's teeth out was so satisfying. All hail the Tooth Fairy. The moment where Robbie gives her confidence by confessing his love for her was another standout scene. While many fans expressed their disappointment that Robbie got injured and never got to win a major tournament in the show, I think his character was done perfectly in the end. He expressed gratitude and optimism at everything karate gave him and takes his loss in stride, demonstrating a level of emotional maturity that even Johnny admitted he never had at that age. If Robbie didn't get the win, it was only natural that Miguel did. The heart and soul of this show was always the relationship between Johnny and Miguel, and I'm so glad that the writers never forgot that. Miguel getting the big win against Axel was great, and it was hard not to get choked up when they flashed back to Johnny helping him stand again after he was paralyzed. Ending the show with Johnny taking over Cobra Kai again was really the best thing they could have done. The show was at its peak when it was about Johnny teaching nerdy kids to be confident, and I really like that they brought him back to that. Was it a perfect ending? Well, these episodes did have some issues here and there. Wolf, Axel, and Zara didn't have enough time to develop as the final villains, and I do think that Kreese and Silver's silly death scene kind of sullied the legacy of two otherwise legendary villains. I also wonder if Johnny losing the final fight, but being okay with it, would have been more profound. Heck, the characters themselves reference the fact that Rocky went through the same kind of character arc. But, that being said, it was clear from the beginning of this show in 2018 that the goal was to redeem Johnny Lawrence, and the only true way to do that was to have him win the big fight in the end. Overall, Cobra Kai is incredibly cheesy, full of unrealistic scenarios and contrivances, has over-the-top melodrama, and it's one of my favorite shows of all time. The fact that the writers had so much love and reverence for the original movies was clear, and in a world full of reboots and revivals, Cobra Kai is the best example of how to do it right. I'm really gonna miss it. What are your all's thoughts on the final episodes of Cobra Kai? Did it meet your expectations? Was it satisfying? Let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Ring that notification bell. Thanks for watching, and I hope y'all have a good one.